It's your boy, back at it again with another one. Um, Today I'm going to be doing a part two to the first episode that I did. Let me see here. Yeah, I'm going to be doing a first. I'm kind of irritated today. Something happened to me today that kind of irritated me, and I kind of got to let some steam off. Uh, Ranting about it a little bit. So I was at work today, and I used to have a dad phone case, like a big protective case for my phone, like a dad case. I used to have one of those on my iPhone, and I got my phone wet. So I was like, okay, I gotta take it out of this big dad case. And as I was taking it out of my case, my protective case, my case kind of fell apart. It kind of broke into like four pieces. So I was like, all right, I guess my case is kind of trash now. I can't use it again. But it worked for the most part for the whole time that I had it. I've had this iPhone that I have right now for about a year and a half ish, almost 2 years now. Um, and that case worked very, very well. Before I used the dad case, I had just like stupid cases, like some sort of like art that I liked or something, some kind of case like that. That's the kind of case I used before I had the dad case. That's when I was stupid, and I was like, yeah, my phone's gonna be fine. Uh, I had an iPhone 4 for about like I want to say like almost 3 years because I'm not the type to go out and buy the new iPhone as soon as it comes out. Who does that? Why would you do that? That's so stupid. Unless you're like racking in the dough, like. But even if you're racking in the dough, it's still pointless. It's still a pointless because like you don't need the new and improved version of what you already have. And it comes out like every year too. There's like a new one every freaking year too. So it's like, what's the point? I don't know. That's just my opinion on it. I just don't think it's worth it. And they're expensive as hell. So it's like, why get a new one? Mine works fine. That's just my dad logic of the day. Maybe I'm just getting too old. I just don't understand it. So yeah, my phone case, I took it off because my phone got wet. And I had to dry out my phone, because I didn't want to break my phone. And I took my case off, and my case fell apart. And the first day, I don't have a case on my phone. I'm at work and I'm on break, and I'm looking at my phone, like, I don't know, reading some stupid shit. And I don't know how it happened, but I guess I wasn't used to the weight, or iPhones are slippery too. I have an iPhone 7. I know there's like 12 now or some shit. I think there's 10 actually. iPhone X is like the newest one. In Roman numerals, if I remember correctly, X means 10, if I remember correctly. I don't know. I don't know actually. I never learned Roman numerals in school. The way I learned Roman numerals was from GTA, from Grand Theft Auto. That's how I learned them. Yeah, so and there's only five of those. So after five, I'm oblivious. I'm like, yep, I don't know, can't count. But yeah, it's iPhone X. Also, what the hell? It used to like they went iPhone, like the normal iPhone, iPhone 2, second generation, third generation. They called them generations at first. Like first, second, third generation, and then the iPhone 4 was just like, nah, we're the iPhone 4. It's like, what happened to generation? You just took that off? It's not there anymore? Okay. And then the iPhone 5, iPhone 6, 7, which is what I have. Um, and then I think it was around 8, if I'm remembering correctly. Uh, they just started using Roman numerals. I'm gonna look it up. They just started using Roman numerals like to label their iPhones. So it's like, what? Why? Yeah. Oh, no. I guess well, this doesn't make any sense either. It goes iPhone 7 and then iPhone 8 and then iPhone XS or XR and then iPhone XS. What? You got to be consistent with, like, otherwise no one's going to know what the fuck you're talking about, you know? I don't know. Anyway, so I dropped my iPhone. I don't know, wasn't used to the weight. It was slippery. Didn't realize that iPhones were slippery because I had a dad case on it for the last, year and a half. And yeah, dropped it, cracked the fuck out of it. So, I just got a cracked iPhone now. So I guess I'm gonna get the iPhone X at some point. Great. Or I'll get like a used iPhone 7. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what I'll do. But all I know is I got a cracked ass iPhone and I can't read anything on it for the most part. I don't know, but I had my iPhone 4 for a long time. I had it like most of my high school experience. Most of my high school uh, time, I had an iPhone 4, and the last year I could barely even freaking use it. I remember I couldn't even snap people. I just couldn't use the phone because my keyboard wouldn't work. I don't know, because the cracks were so extreme that the touch was faulty. So I couldn't even use the iPhone properly. So when the iPhone 7 came out, I was like, yeah, I'm probably just gonna upgrade now because I kind of need to, I'm that's kind of how I am with most things. I'll wear the shit out of it until it's not even functionable anymore. So then I have to get a new one. Dad logic 101, you know. But that's a good way to think though, because I just can't stand it when people just who the hell goes out and gets the new iPhone every freaking year. I can imagine if it like has to do with your business or something, you have to have the latest and greatest like, technology. But if it's just for your own personal gain that you keep going out and getting the new iPhone, what the fuck you doing? What are you doing, bud? And if you can't afford it, I can understand if people who have too much money, so they're just like, whatever, I'm just gonna go and get the new iPhone because, I have too much money. I have money to blow. I got money to blow, getting it in. I think that's a reoccurring segment I'm gonna have on this podcast is just me quoting Drake. I don't know why. That's just in my brain. Drake lyrics are just in my brain constantly. I can't escape them. Get away from me, Drake Dots. I don't know. I just can't. That was a Family Guy quote. I'm gonna stop with that shit now. Anyway, so yeah, cracked my phone. Little flustered today, but you know how that shit go. Anyway, so today I'm gonna do part two of the first episode that I did. Um, I'm talking about music albums and music albums that mean a lot to me. So I'm just gonna, you know, kick it right off. So I'm gonna talk about. I think I'm gonna talk about more modern ones uh, from the last 10 years or so. I might throw in one older one, um, but for the most part, I'm gonna talk about modern ones that I like. No, I might throw in a couple. I don't know. I think I'm gonna do like five, but I'm gonna shorten it up a little bit more. Um, the last one that I did, I kind of drug on, so I'm gonna keep them short and sweet. As to why I love and appreciate these albums. The first one I'm gonna talk about. Let me see here. Uh, I think I'm gonna start off with a newer one, a newer album. And I'm gonna use my phone this time for some research. Um, whenever I need like a certain fact or something, uh, or like the list of the songs on the album. So I just have a quick reminder, you know. The first one I want to talk about is Flower Boy. Flower Boy, I believe, came out 2017. Um, that was just at the end of my high school career, and I was going into college. And I remember hearing this album, and it's kind of a game changer for me because I was getting really into hip hop at that point. Um, I really enjoyed hip hop music. I was digging Travis Scott a lot, but I liked weirder hip hop. I didn't like the traditional hip hop. Um, I guess Travis Scott is pretty mainstream, but I liked kind of more of an alternative sound to my hip hop. Um, when I first heard Flower Boy, some one of my classmates showed me it. They were like, "Have you heard the new Tyler album?" And I was like Tyler the Creator?" They were like, "Yeah, it's fire as fuck." So I was like, "All right." The last one I listened to was Wolf, and I listened to that full album. I have that on vinyl for some reason. I don't know when I bought it, but I do have that album on vinyl, and it's pretty good. It's not even my favorite Tyler album. Well, obviously not, because Flower Boy is, but even before Flower Boy, Wolf is not my favorite Tyler album. I don't know why I have it on vinyl, but I do. Um, but yeah, Flower Boy. When I first heard it, um, it was a step in a different direction for for hip hop music. It was very alternative and weird. I actually heard 911 Mr. Lonely first because it was like a single, and I heard it on Spotify, and I was like, oof, you know, I was kind of digging it. I was like, damn, call me, call me, call me. It's really like a depressing kind of vibe, but um, his whole his whole thing for that album is like that, um, which I love, you know. Um, a few like really like bangers that stood out to me on the album besides 911 Mr. Lonely. I love Frank Ocean on that song too. It's fantastic. But I love Boredom. Oh my god, that song is so good. Every time I listen to that song, I'm like he illustrates what it's like to be bored so well. Like the tone is so perfect. I love everything about that song. And I love Rex Orange County. They are fantastic. And I didn't even realize who they were when I first listened to this album because I was just like, oh, Tyler the Creator, you know? But the features on this album are fantastic too. But yeah, when I first listened to this album, I was in college. Um, and college, woo! And I was kind of I was more of an introvert my first year of college. Uh, than an extrovert. I was more extroverted in high school, and in college, I was more. My first year, I was more introverted. So this album kind of hit me hard because it's a very listen to yourself kind of album. It's not like a party album, you know. If you were to put that album on at a party, someone would be like, "What the fuck?" You know, like they wouldn't vibe with it at all. They'd just be like, "What the hell? Who's playing this weird music?" Like, I want to hear some fucking Travis Scott or some shit, you know. But yeah, I really like this album. It's solid. It's my favorite Tyler album, and it's probably like in my top like hip hop albums. But I wouldn't even call this a hip hop album, you know. I would call it like a, I think it's more of an alternative album than it is a hip hop album. Um, but yeah, it's fantastic. Forward, I really like too, because Rex Orange County, you know, fantastic. The cover art is so dope too. Like, I'm looking at it right now. But yeah, oh, November is probably another fantastic. It's my one of my favorites. Um, I also love Dropping Seeds because I'm a huge Little Wayne fanboy. Because I heard the Carter 3 when I was like 12 or 13. and that was popping. It was like one of the first albums that I listened to when it first came out. Because I used to listen to older music, and the albums already existed. So I didn't listen to them upon first release. But the Carter Three was one of the first albums that I ever listened to when it first came out. Kind of blew my freaking mind. It's kind of its own thing. But yeah, Dropping Seeds is awesome because this song's great because I think it kind of illustrates Lil Wayne's roots like really well. Um, it's not like it's like a classic. By classic I mean like new school, but like my new school of hip hop artists, not like these new school like these last couple years new school, not like Travis Scott new school or who's another artist, um, like X new school. It's like new school, my new school. So like 2009 to like 2013. That's the golden age for me anyway, because that's what I listened to. Um, and I'll get into that later too a little bit as to who turned me to hip hop. I guess Lil Wayne a little bit, but not really. Because I listened to the Carter Three and I enjoyed it, but it wasn't like, oh my God, this is what I'm gonna be listening to. Because I was listening to a lot of alternative then at the same age that I first heard that album, like old '90s alternative. That's what I was listening to for the most part at that point. But a hip hop album would sneak in every so often. Um, and I'd listen to that because that's what was booming too at the time. Uh, with like people, like my friends and shit. They would listen to hip hop. It was really popular at the time. It was like pop music, um, but not. Uh, so yeah, Flower Boy, and Dropping Seeds, was the song I was talking about. I really love that song because it gives like a old school vibe, but new school, old school, if you know what I'm saying, vibe. With the Lil Wayne feature, sounds like not Mr. Carter, Dr. Carter or some shit, from the Carter Three. He shows you what's up, and I love that Tyler. Tyler also put out a single with ASAP Rocky recently, Potato Salad. That's freaking awesome too. Um, but it has the same kind of tone and uh, has the same tone and it's very similar to Dropping Seeds, and I love that song. It's probably one of my favorite on the album, but definitely Boredom and November are definitely my faves on that album. They're fantastic. The whole album's just great. I love it. So that's a newer one. Um, like I said, I'm gonna try and keep these short. Get through them. Give a little, opinion on them, and just kick them to the curb. But the next one I want to talk about, trying to see how I'm gonna do this. I guess I can do "Nothing Was the Same" by Drake, another hip hop album that I love. See, this was more of an introduction to hip hop to me. Um, this is what turned me to the genre altogether. Um, this album, I don't know why, but this album just really, really hits me in my feels. Um, it was released. I was a freshman when this song was released, so I think I was like 15. So I was in that like alternative kind of mood. And I was listening to a lot of older alternative, grungy kind of like feely kind of music. Um, I think more of my eighth grade year, I listened to a lot of that, like '90s kind of grungy kind of sad boy shit. But ninth grade, later, like mid ninth grade, late ninth grade, I started listening to hip hop, and uh, I listened to Nothing Was the Same, and I listened to it on YouTube because there was a full before Drake would copyright all of his music. and you couldn't listen to that shit anywhere, like for free. You had to like it was either if it's a streaming platform or some sort, you had to buy the physical copy. Drake is really hard on that shit now, but before that, um, you could listen to the full album on YouTube. And what's the other album? Take Care as well it was all on YouTube and you could just listen to the whole thing. But I remember when Nothing Was the Same came out, started from the bottom, was like a really big hit, and I'm not really a fan of it. Like, but at first when I listened to it, I was like, ooh, I just loved the production. The production was something. It was way different before like everyone started sampling. Um, I guess Kanye is kind of the inventor of it, but Kanye wasn't as mainstream to me anyway. Uh, I guess, yeah, you heard him a lot, but I never really dove into his music until recently. Um, like a year or two ago, I really dove into his music, and I see where sampling, um, the roots of sampling, and how Kanye kind of perfected it. But with the production on Drake's "Nothing Was the Same," it was the first time I ever like heard how sampling could be done uh, well, like really like perfected. Oh my God, his the intro to that album, and Drake always has fantastic intros to his albums. That's how he gets you. He just reels you in, and then you're in for the ride, no matter what comes next. But the intro, Tuscan Leather, is still to this day one of my favorite Drake songs. That song is fantastic, and the beat is just stellar. Um, the sample, I didn't even know this until recently too. I was at work one time, like a year ago. I was at work and they were playing Whitney Houston. If I can speak, uh, they were playing Whitney Houston on the radio, and I'd never listened to Whitney Houston. I wasn't like a big uh, pop, like classic pop enthusiast. Um, I never really have been. Besides, like, I've really gotten into in the past. I've gotten into Elton John and Billy Joel, and who's another really good artist that I've gotten into that is poppy, like classic kind of pop. I guess David Bowie. I love too. He's a classic pop artist. But anyway, they were playing a Whitney Houston song on the radio, and I heard like the I have nothing, nothing, whoa, that shit, and I was like, that's a that's a Drake song. I didn't even realize that is where the sample came from. It's a Whitney Houston album, and it just made me appreciate the song so much more. But yeah, this album kind of hits me hard because it was it was sad boy times, but like you're past like the middle school kind of bullshit. Um, and I just remember falling in love with hip hop after that, and new hip hop, like the new school artists of my time, like Tyler and Drake, and there was another, I guess Kendrick Lamar. I really enjoyed too thoroughly. Um, at that time, Uh, but yeah, that was a really important album for me, um, and especially with all his ballads that he has, like all of his sad boy ballads, they really hit home. And I think I dated my first, I had my first girlfriend my freshman year, and I remember, I don't know why I'm talking about this, but I remember it only lasted like a month, but you know how that should go. But it only lasted like a month, and I remember afterward I was like, "Oh, I'm so heartbroken," because we broke up and didn't work out. And then I remember listening to Nothing Was the Same and being like in my feels hardcore after that. But it sounds so stupid, but I'm sure a lot of people can relate. So yeah, nothing was the same was important to me because it helped me get through that crummy time, my freshman year, my first relationship. Um, so yeah, that's why that album kind of hits hard. All those ballads, like I think it's called "With Time." Um, I don't know who the female vocalist on that is, but it's just they're just all the songs and the album flows so well together. Furthest Thing, I still will listen to that, like in my car and shit. I'll listen to that song and just bump it, and just be like, ooh. Uh, I really like the language too. I'm looking at some songs, the whole list now. Um, Connect is fantastic. Also, with Connect, I found something um, that I never realized until recently. So many people have sampled that same audio clip. I think it's like a '90s rapper. They all sample it. If you know what I'm talking about, comment it, cause I didn't realize this until Astro World. I listened to Travis Scott's new album recently. Well, when it came out, and on oh shit, what is this song? I think it's No Bystanders. I think it's No Bystanders. Yeah, he sampled uh, the same audio clip as Drake did, and I'm pretty sure Kendrick Lamar has done it too. They all it's like I'm trying to think how it goes. I don't want to play it. I could play it, but like I don't want to get like sued or some shit. I don't fucking know. I don't know how that works. But yeah, I'm pretty sure it's No Bystanders where he sampled it as well, and or it might be Can't Say. I think it might be Can't Say as well, but they all sampled the same guy, and I think it's just like it was just some weird Easter egg that I figured out. But yeah, I really love that album. It's fantastic. Kind of hits me in some sad boy effect. My freshman year, going through a heartbreak. But anyway, I'm gonna move on to the next album. The next album that I'm gonna talk about is an older one, but it's really important to my music history. Uh, um, and it's a Metallica album, but it's probably not the one that you think it is. Everyone loves the Black Album. I think the Black Album is not good. Like it's good, but like I wouldn't listen to it over any other Metallica album. It doesn't sound like Metallica. You know what I'm saying? Like it sounds like some radio rock band, and I don't want to listen to that shit. I want to listen to actual Metallica. And the first, I don't know if this was the first Metallica album. I think it wasn't because I think I heard the Black Album and shit, and then it turned me into this. And this, I think I would have been around the same age as when I heard Rage for the first time. I started, so before I went grunge, uh, I was I was into metal and like rock. Well, I guess I was into like classical rock music, and then I turned me into kind of the metal scene. So like after Rage, I just kind of progressed into more and more metal, and Metallica was on that list. Drop my phone. See, it's just slippery, I'm just dropping it. Shit, I need another dad case or a new phone or some shit. Fuck. Otherwise, I'm gonna be this bad boy's not gonna make it. Anyway, so yeah, I moved on to some metal shit. I think I was like 12, 13. No, I had to been older than that. I think I was like, yeah, 13, 14, something like that. It was like eighth grade-ish before my grunge stage. And I listened to um, And Justice for All. That is the album that I'm gonna talk about. That is my favorite Metallica album to this day, and one of my favorite metal albums in general. Classic rock album too, if you will, because it's basically a classic rock album. Injustice for All is fantastic. Oh, excuse me. What can I say about it? Uh, I'm looking it up right now. The track list. Sorry, I don't memorize the track list. Okay, I gotta look it up. Anyway, well, obviously, one is like one of the greatest metal songs of all time. The first time, because I used to play drums, and I still do, but like I used to play them like religiously, and I had a drum set that my parents and my neighbors and everyone hated. But I used to play drums, and I was really into techniques and shit. And like I said, I would always watch YouTube videos, and in my spare time. And as a kid, you do have a lot of spare time, so I was like, I'm gonna learn how to play the drums and shit, and save up and buy a fucking drum set. And I got one, and it was around the same time I was listening to this metal shit, and I really like. I heard one, and I was like, it was the first time I ever heard that double bass technique, that like insane beat per minute double bass technique. Uh, the that shit, with like the open open notes on the guitar and just really heavy sounding shit. And first time I heard that, I was like, I gotta learn how to do that, cause that's fucking mad shit. And I still can't do it to this day. Like I can't like, and I give Lars Ulrich all the credit where it's due. A lot of people say that Lars Ulrich is like a shit drummer, but like, what? That's insane. I like, he's fantastic. He did some shit that like no one ever did before him. Like, I guess, yeah, okay. Now that I'm thinking about it, there's a lot of metal bands from that time, like Megadeth and Slayer, and I think Slayer was later. But still, like Lars Ulrich, who the hell thinks he's a bad drummer? He's fantastic. If you think he's a bad drummer, you're the same person. Lars Ulrich, the person who thinks Lars Ulrich is a bad drummer is the same person who buys the new iPhone every year. You're not like you're not helping anyone. No, I'm kidding. I'm joking. But anyway, yeah, Lars Ulrich's fantastic drummer, and I had to learn that technique as soon as I heard it too. I fell in love with that song, and I listened to that song before I listened to the album too. Um, I'm pretty sure I listened to it the same way, just streamed it on YouTube. And yeah, the artwork. What can I say about the artwork? It's fantastic. It's like one of my favorite uh, metal album artworks. Um, Actually, no, I take that back. Metal has the dopest fucking artwork. Now I'm thinking about it, and this one's pretty tame. This one is pretty lame now that I'm looking at it. Uh, I mean, just like think of all the metal albums, like Iron Maiden album covers, so dope. Those are so freaking dope. Uh, I love Dio, his first couple um, album artworks. What is it? It's like Night Dreamer or something like that, and Holy Diver. Those with that big demon thing. Like what the fuck? When I first started listening to metal too, that's another thing that like intrigued me into the artwork. And with this next album, I'll capitalize on that too. Uh, the artwork, because that was really important to me as well. My laptop's gonna die. I might have to break and come back and get my cord. But the metal artwork was always my favorite artwork. Uh, Always the dopest shit. Um, Dio, of course, yeah, and Oh my God, don't even get me started about this album. Uh, Black Sabbath by Black Sabbath. I remember me and my buddies, because we all listened to the same kind of music at the same time, you know? And I had different friends for different music to talk about, you know? But I had a group of friends who also listened to metal music. Oh, metal music. And uh, we'd talk about it all the time. And I had a buddy who's really into Black Sabbath and Ozzy Osbourne and Dio as well. Like that older, I guess Dio's not that old, but like the old metal, the shit that like started the metal movement, like in '69. And he showed me the Black Sabbath song, uh, or the Black Sabbath album. Um, what is it? Is it Black Sabbath by Black Sabbath on the album Black Sabbath? I'm pretty sure that's. I think the song is called Black Sabbath. Black Sabbath by Black Sabbath on the album Black Sabbath. That's funny shit. I'm looking it up. Sorry. Yeah, the song is Black Sabbath on the album Black Sabbath, written by Black Sabbath. But like Jesus, I guess it's you're not gonna forget that shit. Uh, but yeah, I remember seeing that album cover and being blown away. Like, what the shit am I looking at? So metal album covers have always been pretty dope, but that's one drawback I guess from Injustice for All. Is the album cover's cool and all, but like nothing compared to like its predecessors, you know. But I also think Injustice for All came out perfect time because I feel like metal was kind of dying at that point. But this was like they made it in the sweet nick of time, you know, before metal just started getting like more rock sounding. It wasn't as raw. But yeah, one is one of my favorite songs to this day because of the drumming. I love it. And the guitar solo is like one of my favorite guitar solos of all time. That shit is so good. That and No More Tears by Ozzy Osbourne. Uh, those are my favorite guitar solos. And Hotel California is fantastic too. But yeah, anyway. Uh, and Justice for All is also a fantastic song. And Justice for All on the album And Justice for All. That just cracks me up. Black Sabbath by Black Sabbath on the album Black Sabbath. It's like, guess you're never forgetting that shit, you know? The Shortest Straw, I really like too. I just think the whole album just fits perfectly. I also really like Kill 'Em All. I think that's a great album too, but it doesn't do the same do the same as And Justice for All for me. I just think Injustice for All, if I were to pick a Metallica album, and if I were to have a top album list, which I don't, just gotta, make that clear, it would be up there. It's pretty good. And I listened to it in that time frame. I listened to it in perfect time, before I hit that grunge movement. And, excuse me, I was really into metal. But, yeah, that's an older one. I'm probably gonna do one more older one and then one more newer one and then call her good for today. Uh, I got like 15 minutes or so. Um, but yeah, I'm gonna take a short break. Come back. Um, I gotta get my laptop charger, plug this sucker in before it dies, and yeah, I'm gonna take a short break and we'll be right back, and I will continue with this list and call her good for the day. But stay tuned. Back, you beautiful bitches. So I said I was gonna talk about two more albums, but I think I might just do one and then do one more part for this series and then call it good. Like I said, I have a huge freaking list. But I'm not gonna go through them all. I'm only gonna go through like I think I'm if I do one more part, I'll be doing uh I think half my list, a little over half. But yeah, so I'll do one more album and then I'll probably wrap this up. I might have time for if I stop procrastinating. I might have time for a short one, but I don't want to. I don't want to like give albums more time than the previous album. You know, I don't want to give like leeway to an album um, and not another album. You know, I want to give them all like a fair assessment. So this next album, I debated. I wanted to talk about two, but I figured since I'm going with like a newer uh, kind of vibe, minus the Metallica album that I talked about, I figured I'd do one more album that like is a little newer that I kind of fell in love with when I first heard it, and that's "Good Kid, Mad City" by Kendrick Lamar. And this is the first time I ever heard Kendrick Lamar. I know he had albums before it, but I never listened to him, you know. I never really, and like I said, this was like this. I got into hip hop around the same time as Nothing Was the Same was released. And I was a, excuse me, I was a freshman in high school. And that was like, I think it was like 2013, something like that. I don't really know when it was released, but I could look it up. Yeah, I'm gonna use my phone. Let's go. But yeah, so I started listening to hip hop around then, and then I saw Good Kid, Mad City. It was like suggested to me or something um, on YouTube, or I heard like "Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe" or something, you know, or Mad City, the song, Mad City on the album, Mad City. Well, I guess it's two songs. It's Good Kid, and then the next song is Mad City. I'm looking at it right now. So Good Kid and Mad City on the album. Good Kid, Mad City. I just think that's fucking hilarious. Like that artists will do that. They'll they'll like rename their album, and I'm not shitting on artists that do that because obviously I have two of the albums in my favorite of all time album list right now. Um, I'm not shitting on them, but I'm just saying like it's kind of monotonous, if you know what I mean. Like they're just like, yeah, those that was a great song. So I'm gonna name my whole album out of like after it. Like, what are you doing? Anyway, so yeah, it was around the same time as I heard that Drake album, and the thing that lured me in was the album art. So it was like so I'd never listened to like classic hip hop like like Nas or anyone like that. Um, so I didn't really know like uh, the only thing I knew from album art and cover art from hip hop was like your standard from like the new school kind of stuff, like the Lil Wayne and Drake kind of thing. They all kind of had the same kind of like album cover art. It was like all pretty much like it was really similar, you know, like they all had like it was like the one artist and then like there was some shit going on behind them or something, you know, or like it was like a baby picture or something in the Little Wayne case, or in the Drake case too, because nothing was the same. It's a baby picture. I think that's a common theme for like hip hop albums, like cover arts, is like baby pictures. I mean, it's dope, you know, but like it's a reoccurring. I think that's another thing with hip hop though too, like but it's not just hip hop, it's all music. They all kind of take like all yeah, now I'm thinking about it, all metal albums kind of have the same vibe. They're all just like a demon or like a skeleton or some shit, you know. It's all pretty similar. All in the same ballpark, you know, like that's where genres come from. But anyway, I saw this album artwork and it's just like a minivan and like a rundown neighborhood and whatever. And it was like cropped really well and shit. And I was like, what is this, you know? And I listened to Mad City and I was like, the beat, first off, the beat is fucking dope. Like the first time I heard it, I was like, and also about this album is it's like a story, you know? It was like the first time I heard like a story based album, like a fucking movie, you know what I'm saying? Like I never experienced that. Later on, I started listening to more more of the like the concept albums because I love concept albums. It's like literally watching a movie, you know. But the way Kendrick Lamar does this on this album is so perfect. Like even like most of the time when I hear skits on like hip hop albums, for sure hip hop albums are mainly the albums that I hear skits on. I never like want to hear the skits, you know. But the skits on this album are like part of the songs. As I'm thinking of like another example of someone who does skits is Eminem, and usually Eminem skits are like their own uh song. So I'm like, who the fuck would listen to that, you know? Like, but like the way Kendrick does it on this album is so perfect because he he like he includes them on the actual songs themselves, and it just works perfectly. And it's skits are like in a hip hop album, I've noticed skits are a very good way to transition into a next song, you know, and like get a new kind of feel for the next song that's supposed to come up. But yeah, this album was a game changer for me because, like I said, I wasn't really into hip hop until the Drake album that I listened to. I listened to that Drake album, and it kind of just turned me towards a lot of other albums. And Kendrick was blowing up. I remember he was getting really popular by then, and because he had an album before it, I think it was like, was it? Yeah, Section 80 was before it, and that was like it was kind of a mixtape kind of vibe to it, and that was like blowing up really big. I remember people talking about it, and then I listened to Good Kid, Mad City, um, and yeah, what can I say about this album? It's fantastic. The first song I ever heard on it was Swimming Pools. Um, and I remember because I think I got Beats for Christmas. I got Beats headphones because I started listening to hip hop. You know, I started listening to Drake and then other artists like that. And I know Good Kid, Mad City came out before the Drake album, but I just never got around to listening to it. And but I got Beats headphones for Christmas that year, and because I wanted the experience of listening to Beats, because I know the and since I got into hip hop, a lot of hip hop at that time, I guess it's still like the bass and like 808s are very important, you know, to the sound of like the instrumental. So I got Beats because they increase the frequencies, like the low end frequencies of like 808s, and so you can hear them better and clearer. They also work really well for classical music too, especially because I love hearing the bass guitar. But anyway, uh, so I got Beats for Christmas that year, and I remember getting suggested to listen to Swimming Pools, and I remember hearing that for the first time, and I was just kind of like, I didn't understand like what was going on. I thought it was just another banger, you know, but like it's actually written really well. It's written like a TED Talk or some shit, you know. Uh, and I was just kind of like after that, I was just kind of uh, intrigued because Kendrick wasn't really doing everything else that other hip hop artists that I was listening to was doing. He was doing something different, you know. And then so someone told me they were like, have like I was like, yeah, I've been listening to a little bit of Kendrick, and they're like, now Kendrick's huge. He's massive. He's like the biggest hip hop artist today. I think so anyway. Like I think when there's like a new school of rappers now, and before that was like my new school, which was like Kendrick and Drake and Lil Wayne or whatever, you know. And uh, Kendrick's still there, you know. He's still like in this newer school too. Um, but anyway, yeah. So someone told me they were like, "Yeah, you gotta listen to like the full album," and I was like, "Full album?" Like, and at the time, like I hadn't really listened to full hip hop albums, you know. I would just listen to the songs, except for the Drake one. I listened to that full album, but I would just listen to singular songs by hip hop artists. Like ASAP Rocky, I was really into listening to like just the songs. I never listened to his full albums. Excuse me. And someone told me, they're like, no, you gotta listen to the full album. It's like a story. So I was like, what? That's weird. I never heard of like an album like being like a movie, you know? Every song usually that I listen to is like uh is they all like intertwined together for the most part for all the albums that I listen to, you know, like uh in the past, like full albums. They all basically they flow together well and the songs like have parallel meanings, but this is like the first time that I ever listened to an album where like it was like basically telling a story. So I was like, okay, this is something way different. So just for like that factor alone, I think Kendrick Lamar is like one of the first hip hop artists that I heard who did this. And just for that factor alone, it really pulled me into this album. I loved it when I first listened to it, especially dude, the whole album's like just fire. Now that I'm looking at the track list, Backstreet Freestyle. I have this on vinyl too. It was like one of the like I think it was the first hip hop vinyl I bought. Now I'm thinking about it. Yeah, it definitely was. But yeah, I got Beats and I listened to it on my Beats, and I listened to Swimming Pools for the first time too, like with my Beats headphones. And I remember being blown away by the production too. Like I loved the Drake production, you know, but this was something different, you know. It was because I guess it was worked on by Dr. Dre as well. So I mean, you know, that's just kind of a gimme because I loved the Eminem show, you know. I already talked about that, and I really appreciated Eminem's music though too as a hip hop artist. Uh, so yeah, when I first heard this, I was blown away. It was all like very new concept for an album to kind of flow like that, like this did, especially a hip hop album because I never heard anything like that. Um, but yeah, some of the highlights songs, I guess I can give you like a few that I really love. Uh, I love "Sing About Me." I'm dying of thirst. I love the like how it's like a 10-minute song. I was blown away by that because I was like, the only other like it was the first time I ever heard like a hip hop song that was like super long, you know, like because I listened to Metallica and shit, and those songs were really long, but like this is the first time I ever got like I listened to like a hip hop song that did that. I love "Sing About Me." That song's fantastic. Backstreet Freestyle is another like kind of low key version, not version, but low key song on the album that I love. And "Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe" is so good. They're all great. If you haven't heard this album and you love hip hop music, I highly suggest you go and I I wouldn't even say uh, listen to it like on stream. I would say uh, listen to it on record. That's what I would say because uh, that's the best way I've heard this album because I have it on vinyl and it sounds fantastic. Like that you can really pick up like with the production on it. It's just so great. Um, so I'm getting the time reminder now that I'm kind of running out. But yeah, if you haven't heard this album, I'd say go pick it up and you'll kind of understand why Kendrick sounds the way he does now and why hip hop sounds the way it does now. It's fantastic. So I'm going to end this right about here. Uh, if you like this, let me know and I'll do another part. I still have a ton of albums that I can go through. So if you enjoyed this, just let me know and I'll do another one. But until then, I will see you guys in the next one.